And hello everyone, welcome to this edition of Nowhere Videos Meat and Potatoes, the program that shows you easy recipes for great food. My name is Todd Hilton, I'll be your host and chef for this edition, and tonight I'm going to be introducing you to a dish of my own creation. I call it Chicken Noodle Cheese Bake. Basically, if you like chicken, cheese, and lots of it, you're going to like this dish. It's real easy to make. It's something I threw together one night when I wasn't sure what to have for dinner, and it turned out pretty good. Over the few times that I've made it, I've revised it to kind of correct some mistakes that I'd obviously made in preparing it, or baking it, I should say. And I've got it refined, and I've actually got a couple of variations on it depending on your own personal taste. There's kind of your standard version, which tastes real good, and then there's the richer version where you don't use anything that's watered down, and I'll explain that as we go along. The version I'm making for you tonight is the regular standard version. It's not quite as rich as the other one, and but it's good either way. Okay, first thing you're going to start out with, we're going to cook some noodles here. Take the pan down here. Excuse our light here. This is one of our new additions to our set here that's going to make everything on the stove show up a little better. And you're going to need your wide egg noodles here. You're going to want the 12-ounce package. That's going to be just the right amount for the recipe here. Actually, we're going to need to fill this up with some water here so we can get them boiling. And one of the things I've actually heard, believe it or not, is that cold water boils faster than hot water. Why is that? One of those things. Okay, we're going to put it on that one here. Go ahead and put it on high. We're going to let that boil. As soon as that comes to a boil, we'll put our noodles in and get them cooking. There's quite a few steps in preparation for this. Probably the one that's going to take the longest is to get the chicken ready. And what I've done to save some time, this was frozen chicken. My recipe actually calls for ground chicken, but for this show, I'm going to make it with the boneless, skinless chicken. And it'll taste the same either way. The ground chicken makes it a little bit easier to put the recipe together, but I'm going to use the boneless, skinless for this. And like I said, it tastes just the same, so it's all good. I've went ahead and defrosted the chicken in advance, and now I need to cut it up. Okay, like I said, I've actually went ahead and defrosted the chicken here just in the microwave, and I actually put it in for about 10 minutes on defrost. And I'm going to grab my cutting board here, and now we're going to need to cut this up. I'll take it back over here, and we'll get it set down here. And like I said, this is going to be one of the more time-consuming parts of preparing this dish. And we're going to need a good sharp knife. And just one at a time here, we'll take it on here, and we'll get it cut up. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and cut up our chicken here. Actually, through my experience of making this dish, as I said, it's a recipe I made up, so it's kind of trial and error with different techniques, and you find out what works the best. As far as cutting the chicken, I've actually found that either completely frozen or semi-frozen, it's actually a little easier to cut. Some of it depends on the kind of knife you're using too. And we're just going to want to cut this into kind of little, almost cubes, just small pieces here. The only thing that I have done differently since that first batch was the fact of how I layer this. It's actually kind of like a casserole when you're done with it. It's layered. And I made the mistake of actually having two separate layers of noodles. And what had happened is I put the second layer of noodles on the very top. And what happened is some of the noodles were buried in cheese, and that worked out fine. But the noodles that were out on top, they got well, not burnt, but they got really crispy, and that was my one mistake there that I corrected the next time. I made sure that the noodles were down inside the layers there, and we'll get to that here shortly after the chicken's cut up here. Let me I'll go ahead and finish cutting this chicken here, and we'll move on to the next step. Okay, just about done getting our chicken cut up here. Like I said, the smaller pieces the better. As I said, my original recipe calls for a ground chicken, so I'll try to get this cut up as small as possible. Okay, and it looks like our water is boiling and it's ready for some noodles. We're going to throw these noodles in. We're going to use the whole package, and we're going to let those boil here for just a couple minutes. Make sure they're nice and soft. Get those stirred up in there. Make sure they're covered in water. And pretty much you wait for the water to come to a boil again, and that's about the time they're going to be ready to drain. Okay, so that looks good there. And we'll let those get boiled up again. And in the meantime, we're gonna put our chicken back on our plate that we had here. And we have it cut up in relatively small pieces here. And I'll get that back on there. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to prep for the actual baking of the dish. We have our 9 by 13 pan. We're going to get that ready to go. Okay. And it looks like our noodles are ready. It doesn't take long at all. Okay. And we're going to want to drain those.
You're going to want to take the heat off of those.
All right. Now we're going to overflow that until it goes all over the burner. Okay. Reduce the heat there, and actually just go ahead and turn it off. It's going to stay warm enough or hot enough to where it's going to make the noodles soft, but not so much where it's going to boil over here. So we'll let that sit here, and I'm going to get a strainer out here so we can get the noodles drained. That looks like it should be good to go there. Okay, we've turned the heat off there. Okay, now we're going to take our pan of noodles here. And remembering, of course, the noodles and the water are very, very hot. So we're going to strain our noodles here. Go ahead and dump that on in the sink there. Make sure you do have a strainer in there before you dump them in the sink. Couldn't resist there. Okay, so now the noodles are nice and strained. Okay, we're going to get the pan ready. And you're going to want, you can use either a butter-flavored cooking spray, like I'm using here, or you can use Crisco, even put some butter or margarine. Sometimes you can take a paper towel and just spread it in there. Just make sure that that our dish won't stick to the pan, or at least not too much anyway. And make sure we get the sides definitely. Spray that down. Okay, so that's good to go there. Okay, now one thing that I found actually will speed up the process and ensure that you have safe chicken to eat is that you pre-cook the chicken, and we're going to do that right now. Just going to go ahead and, as I said before, this is about 2 pounds of chicken, roughly. Go ahead and cook that. A variation you could do on this, if you wanted to, is actually season the chicken. My recipe, I didn't season the chicken because the other ingredients kind of do it for you. So we're going to let that cook here. It should only take maybe 5 minutes to cook that. And while we're waiting for that, we'll get one of the next ingredients ready. Now, while we've got our chicken cooking and our noodles are waiting, we're going to take about 2/3 of a pound of cheddar cheese. That's my cheese of choice, you could say. And I've got a 2-pound brick of mild cheddar cheese here, and I'm going to cut some of that off there. Now, I like a lot of cheese in this dish. It's one of the main ingredients that really makes this dish is a lot of cheese. So we're going to grate this. One thing you could do, again, to speed up the process, if you wanted to buy prepackaged shredded cheese, that would definitely speed this up. Get this nice and shredded. Trying not to shred my fingers at the same time, because that just would not taste good in this dish. Okay. And you can always add more cheese later. I may end up with a little bit less cheese than what I'm after here. We'll see when I remove the grater here. Keep in mind that when you make this dish, I believe the last time I made it, I used 2 layers of cheese, one that was somewhere in the middle, and the very top layer that goes on the dish will be cheese. And definitely to avoid that mistake that I made the first time I made the dish, was having noodles on the very top. Didn't work out too well, so I made sure next time that I had cheese on the top, and worked out good. Okay, so let's see how much we got there. That's not bad. Lots of cheese. Okay, and our chicken's coming along nicely here. Like I said, I like to cook the chicken ahead of time. That way you be sure that the chicken was cooked all the way through. And when it's cut up small like this, it doesn't take that long to cook. Just in the time it's taken me to grate that cheese, it's cooked this much, so that's not bad. A few more minutes and this chicken will be ready to go. As I said, if you wanted to, you could add some seasoning to this. Actually, a lot of my chicken dishes that I make, I use the same seasonings that I do, like I did in the chicken and rice dish. Just your pepper, garlic powder, chicken seasoning, ones like that, and they work really well. They always taste good with the chicken. A few more minutes on that, and our chicken will be ready to go there. I'll let that cook a little bit longer. Okay, while we're waiting for that, we'll take just a second here, and we'll get the stove ready to go, or the oven ready to go. You're going to want it to bake 350. Going to preheat the oven there and let that heat up. We got about half a dozen things going at once here. We're going to go ahead and mix the cream of chicken soup. It's actually, as what I said, this takes. It sounds like a lot, but it doesn't take all that long to get all these ready to go. We're going to use just a regular, I believe this is a 10-ounce can, 10.5 ounce can of cream of chicken soup. And we're going to mix that with half a can of milk, excuse me. As I said earlier, there's another variation that I've written for this. If you like a richer mixture, which involves you actually use more cheese. I believe it's a full pound of cheese, and one of the family size cans of cream of chicken soup. And that will, a full can of cream of chicken soup and no milk. You actually just just put the soup right out of the can into your mixture. And that will give you a very rich dish. Like I said, if you like chicken and cheese to to the extreme, then that would be the way to go. I've actually made both variations. I like both of them. I actually prefer the richer mixture, but my family kind of likes the regular normal version. So it's you figure either way you're gonna have a family pleaser there. I think it's a good dish, tastes great, and it's I would say less filling, but that's sorry. No, it tastes great, and my family has liked it, so it's a good thing to make. I'm going to pour half a can of milk in here, and I'm going to go ahead and mix that together. This is one of our, I call it a pre-mix, and you basically make just the cold soup as it is. When this is done, you're going to pour this into the mixture. This is actually going to be a layer that's going to be in the final dish. So get that stirred up there. Try to get as many of the lumps out there as we can. And yeah, when you're done here, you actually end up with anywhere between I would say 4 and 6 layers. It depends on how much cheese you use. And you could, if you had a larger pan, you could double the batch easily. Okay, so that's going to be pretty good there. All right, we're going to set that aside here. And now it's time to come back to our chicken. Okay, our chicken is just about ready. Okay, just a little more browning to do there. Which, incidentally, there, if you're using the ground chicken, which of course is going to be, you're going to have a lot smaller pieces of this. So you just brown it like you would ground beef, and it's that easy. Yeah, this is just probably a couple of minutes ready from being a couple of minutes away from being ready to put into the final mixture. Again, this is 2 pounds, approximately 2 pounds of chicken. I've used the boneless, skinless chicken that was previously frozen, and I've defrosted it ahead of time, and we're just getting it cooked up here. Okay, and we're just about ready to pour into our final pan. Okay, we are ready to pour into our final pan here. We got that sprayed with the non-stick butter-flavored cooking spray. And now we're going to take our noodles here. Going to take our noodles that we drained here, and we're going to start layering these on the very bottom. Okay, we'll just dump the whole thing in there. It's been a while since I've made this dish, folks, so it's got to bear with me here.
Probably should use a little bit of vegetable oil in your boiling water.
Yeah.
Keep it from sticking.
Mr. Mark Johnson and I, as you know, trade places for our shows here. He's running camera with me. He offered me a very good piece of advice, and I've heard this before, but sometimes you don't always think of these things. If you add a little bit of vegetable oil in with your noodles while they're cooking, then they won't stick together so bad. Well, the good thing about this dish, even despite the fact the noodles are a little bit sticky there, everything's going to get mixed together. You're going to end up with it's similar to a casserole when you're done there. Okay, so noodles on the bottom. And now the next layer you're going to have is actually going to be your chicken. What you're going to want to do, we'll turn this off here, and we're going to actually go ahead and drain the chicken. I think what I'll do is I'll go ahead and just use the same strainer I used here for the noodles, and Strain out all the juices. Unlike the chicken and rice dish, we actually don't need to save any of the juices from this one, from the cooked chicken. Okay. And next, go ahead and try to evenly spread the chicken over the noodles. And we'll get that, try to get that as even as possible. It's a little bit easier with the ground chicken because you're working with smaller pieces, of course. But, again, using the boneless chicken, it tastes just as good. And usually you get a better deal when you buy the frozen chicken in bulk there, that's for sure. Ground chicken will definitely be a little more expensive because you're going to buy that fresh or pre-packaged, ready to go, don't have to defrost it or anything. And so that looks good there. Now, next, here's where our soup comes in, and it's time for soup. So soup goes right over the top of that, and again, we try to get it as even as possible. And then once it's all out of the dish here, I'm going to scrape the last bit of it there. Okay. Try to get all that soup out there. Now you're going to take your spoon there and try to evenly spread it over the chicken. Now again, if you want the richer mixture, you're going to use the family size can of cream of chicken soup, and you're not going to use any milk. You're just going to stir it up so that it's basically the cream soup, just straight cream soup, and do the same thing. Mix it up till it's even and spread it across there. And last but not least here is where you get your cheese. Now I've got a whole plate here full of cheddar cheese, and we're going to sprinkle that all over the top of the dish here. We are just about ready to put this in the oven. You're going to bake this for 30 minutes on 350 degrees, and when we're done, we're going to have a very, very yummy dish here. Okay. So again, try to get your layers as even as possible. That way you dish up, you're going to have even amounts of all the elements of the dish. Another thing to keep in mind: try to cover up all the noodles, because if you don't, you're going to end up with some crispy noodles, and that's actually not something you want. Believe me. That's the mistake I made the first time, and not since then. Okay, and we are preheated at 350 and ready to go. And as I said, this is going to bake for a half hour at 350, and we're going to let that cook in there for a half hour. After 30 minutes is up, we're going to pull that out of the oven, and we'll give you folks a peek at it. And we'll show you the final product. We'll see you in just a minute. Okay, and through the magic of television, we are now 30 minutes later, and we're ready to take the chicken noodle cheese bake out of the oven and present it to you folks there. I'm going to turn our oven off there and grab a couple hot pads. All right, here we go. Dun, 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 dun. All right. Okay, folks, and here we have it. I give you chicken noodle cheese bake. Okay, so that is my chicken noodle cheese bake. It's a recipe that I made up there. There are some variations you can make for yourself. In fact, ones that I just thought of while I was making the dish tonight. Things that would taste good in there, crumpled bacon might be an option. Maybe some kind of maybe even a garlic sauce of some type. And pretty much anything that goes with chicken and cheese. And of course, as I said earlier, you can season the chicken if you wish to. And it makes it that much better. So that's definitely a dish that you can make at home, and I definitely think it's going to be a family pleaser for those of you who aren't professional chefs. I am definitely far from that. I'm just someone who cooks at home for their family, and I try to come up with stuff on my own, maybe a little bit different from what's in a cookbook, and it's fun to do. I've had a lot of fun making up recipes, and like I said earlier, if you know ingredients that go well together, then usually you can come up with things like this. So it's definitely a fun thing to do. So with that, I'm going to call this an episode, and hope you enjoyed watching Meat and Potatoes, and I want to thank you for watching. So until next time, good taters, good meat, good grief, let's eat. I'm Todd Hilton. We'll see you next time.